All right. Yep. Here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Not again.
Good morning, Peter.
Hey, Bill. Hey, everybody.
This is our 434th time we're doing this. In other words, episode 434.
Mm-hmm.
And here is today's title. How do I start doing creative real estate deals? Funny.
Oh, yeah.
434 podcasts. We're going back to basics, huh?
It sounds like a conversation we had about 9 years ago. Hello, Bill. This is Pete. I just came back from a seminar and take it away.
Exactly.
Take it away. Oh, God.
Okay, here's the description. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, huge, uncharted, wild wilderness and not really knowing the path filled with promise and crazy hope, but completely uncertain and unproven. This is where every creative real estate entrepreneur starts their journey toward seemingly impossible goals. But before you get started on this expedition, there is a critical question you must answer for yourself. Where exactly are you starting from? See, in our quest of achieving the extraordinary, we often rush headlong into action, driven by enthusiasm and desire for quick results. However, this eagerness can lead us astray with more problems to solve if we don't first take a look at our current position and the resources at our disposal. So today we are going to figure out your starting line or baseline, which will then allow you to find some hidden gems that will provide you with unexpected shortcuts or advantages for a prosperous boost and some new freedom that you totally yearn for and, of course, deserve.
Okay, that's good. That's
a little
good.
Mysterious there. I didn't allude to what we're going to talk about, except your starting point. So here we go. We need to do some housekeeping type stuff. So make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you leave a review. Realize that we broadcast this. We actually record this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when we do that, we live stream to Facebook, to YouTube on two channels, which is Flipping Houses for Rookies and Creative REI Reply. And we also stream it to LinkedIn. So if you want to join us and have questions about the podcast itself, you can go to any one of those platforms, type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, and you can join us during the podcast. And if you have questions about the podcast, we'll answer them. If you don't have questions about the podcast, I won't be able to answer them because we have a limited amount of time here. And I always have way too much to say. About something. I'm very passionate about creative real estate, and I love to talk about it. And this is my opportunity to do that. And I have a dedicated audience that listens. I think they listen. I don't know if they always agree.
Well, they're not watching, Bill. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, just head on over to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creative real estate. creativereireply.com. And just hit the support ticket top right-hand corner, and we will answer your questions through support tickets on anything that podcast's not pertaining to. Realize that we have courses and coaching and software. Nowadays, after doing this for 30 plus years, the last couple of years, I've partnered with one of my guys, with one of my partners, Sean, who is a young guy. He's half my age, and he has made it very possible to push buttons to make about 90% of all the bullshit work go away. So all you have to do is the work that makes you $500 an hour. And that software is the only software like that on the market. I know that because I do live demonstrations 2 or 3 times a day for the last month, getting ready to train some people to do it. And I talk to a lot of people I'm in 3 coaching groups, and I talk to 2 or 3 brand new people that are looking for real estate endeavors, and we are the only ones in the market that have this software. So it's pretty cool. So enough of that.
Yep.
Let's get going. You ready, Pete?
Ready to go.
All right, let's get right down to business. Creative real estate is not made to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Creative real estate is made to do it. What does that mean to you, Peter?
Well, when you have a very limited system, and it's not picking, but the MLS, it's a number, it's a cash offer, it's a contract, it's a bank, it's a thing. That's it. You do the routine. Creative means creative. It's like music. Now think about it. What's the formula for music? You can't. It's creative. So is this. How many ways could you talk to somebody about kind of sorting out a good way to get them to sell their house, buy another one? It's not limited. So it's really pretty open. We have a lot of like lanes, right? You can do this, but we can shift lanes, can't we? We can come. So there's a lot to it that we could do. We're really not pigeonholed or required by some kind of a law that you have to do this or that, except, the usual stuff that we follow. It's pretty open.
So that is very true about the creative real estate part, but what about the part about learning it, not learning it, and just doing it? What does that mean to you?
Well, how do you learn how to do something that has so many facets before you try it? You'd be there for years trying to learn every little angle. It just doesn't pay, because the first person you talk to will have a pretty exclusive situation. So why don't you just learn that one? Why don't you just see what's going on with this particular thing and find a way to work in that? And by the way, folks, if you're not watching, Bill's actually smiling at the last thing I said. Am I getting close?
No, you. Uh-oh. Peter's device just disconnected, so he'll come back on in a minute. It's a little bit odd. Here he comes.
Computers doing things on their own.
You're back. Well, we have a black screen right now, but I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I'll get keep going. I'll get it back.
Yeah. All right. So creative real estate is not made to learn it. It's made to do it. And that's mostly because you don't need money or take on any debt and even have risk if you know how to do it correctly. So these types of transactions are the transactions that you should be doing prior to actually investing. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but I talk about testing before investing. And I think that's a new concept to the real estate world, because I mean, just think of it this way. This is how this initiated in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody were to teach you how to do the stock market, in other words, buy and sell or trade on the stock market, especially a daily trader.
Yeah.
One of the things that they have you do is buy and sell trades without money. In other words, you go on whatever software you're going to use and you pick your trade, you pick your stocks and you name them and you write them in a notebook or whatever you're going to do. And then tomorrow you see how your picks were.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is kind of like a horse race, right?
I was just thinking the same thing.
You pick your horse and then you wait for the race and see what happens. So you could go to the horse races and you could sit in the stands or wherever you would sit and make your bets and then see what happens. And then once you feel confident that you have some sort of a system or an idea, or you're educated, or as we've been talking about for the last 3 podcasts, you have wisdom. Wisdom means knowledge and experience, right? You then start laying your whole cold hard cash down. Mm-hmm. And real estate is the same way. So this is why I say creative real estate is made to learn it. Is not made to learn it. It's made to do it. So with the old adage that you should have hands-on, this is like an apprentice program. when I teach, when I say this, test, don't invest, and we do this type of transaction, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, you're testing it. You're testing your skills. You're testing your buyer's skills. You're testing your seller's skills, and you're putting it all together as if it's a cauldron, right? A witch's cauldron,
Yeah.
And you're making like this recipe, for a spell, you know what I mean? And the spell is on you. Can you become a millionaire? Can you become wealthy? Can you become that person that does deals? And kind of like, I realized this the other day. One of my dreams, which I forgot about, right? I forgot about one of my dreams is that I would live in a neighborhood, which I live in a decent neighborhood. I don't live in a fancy neighborhood, but I live in a pretty good neighborhood, right? It's one of the better neighborhoods in my town. And the neighbors would wonder what the hell I do all day long because I don't go to work. Right? Little did they know I work probably more than them, but I work in my office in my house, but there are days where I wake up and I'm like, don't think I'm going to work today. Or I do just basically what I need to do, and I make excuses to go for a ride in my car and smoke cigars on those days. I got to go check on a house, and I'm actually just going for a ride smoking a cigar. All right. So enough of that. Before I reveal some never before heard of strategies, unless you're in one of my inner circles, I need to paint this picture. Okay. This is something that I can do an entire podcast on. Matter of fact, I could probably do a 1-day seminar on this. And the problem is nobody would come because they wouldn't think that it would be interesting. But I will promise you, if you listen to what I'm about to tell you and contemplate it and think about it over your life the next couple of days, you will see how unaware you are of it and how it's controlling your life. And most people don't recognize it. I don't even know how I figured it out, but it's just something that I figured out. Right? This, what I'm about to tell you, is what your survival is based on. This is huge, but it won't sound that way. The word is transformation. Transformation. And transformation means to change something from what it is to something else. But more importantly, in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, in the religious manner, it means to change your very nature or change your heart of who you are. Right? And that's what the Christian religion is all about. I mean, when you go to church, it's good and evil, right? It's God and the devil, right? And everybody has a devil in them. So you're constantly changing who you are. You're trying to be a better person, right? And you're trying to have a compassionate heart for your fellow man, right?
Right.
So here's what I figured out recently, and it's a vital step that most miss. And it sends them off into paths we don't need to travel without a compass. And most get lost in the wilderness, in the wild wilderness, and never get results. Everything you do, before I move on, everything you do, everything you do is a journey of transformation. Every day, every second, every minute. I'm hungry, I have to get food. My stomach hurts. I have to go to the bathroom. I feel like I'm out of breath. I need to take a deep breath. I need to swallow. Everything is a transformation. You're in a position and need to get somewhere because you've convinced yourself that's what you need. Everything is a transformation. I'm young and I'm getting old. That's a transformation. I'm sick. I need to get well. That's a transformation. Right? Now, that's an interesting thing. I'm sick and I need to get well. Right? Because I remember one time there was a chiropractor that I knew, and he would shake people's hands and he would say, "How are you feeling?" And he did a study to find out. So I don't remember the numbers, but like 80-something% of the people don't feel good. Like there's a question you can ask your friends and your relatives, like in a 30-day cycle or in 1 month, how many days do you actually feel good? And you'll be surprised if you get an answer more than 3 or 4 days.
That's scary.
Right? So that's a transformation, right? It's how you transform. Anyway, so that's a transformation. Everything is a transformation, right? So you're always somewhere wanting to get somewhere else. It doesn't matter how little or how big. You're trying to make a better relationship. You're working on something. Now, here's my point in this, and this is why, and I could, honest to God, I could go all day talking about this. And you think I'm nuts, but it is so undercurrent in your life, so impactful in your life, you don't even know what's happening. It's like a fish in water, and you're saying to the fish, is that water warm? And he says, what water? Because he's surrounded in this water and he doesn't even know it, or she. Right? Now watch this. Transformation is what controls your attention. So when you're transforming from one thing to another thing, it's what you have your attention on. I'm too fat. I got to go on a diet. So all of a sudden, the diet is the transformation from where you are to where you need to go. And you put all of your attention on what kind of food do I have to eat? I need to go exercise. Oh, I can't have any of that. You go out to dinner. Oh, no, I can't have that. It's resistance. Right? Transformation. I don't sleep well at night. So your attention goes on your sleep. My body doesn't feel good. So you put all your attention on your body and nothing else. It invades your ability to do something else. So you're trying to do creative real estate deals and your body hurts, or you didn't sleep last night, or you're hungry. Are you really there in present time, new unit of time, talking to a seller the way you need to talk to your seller so that they can understand what you can do for them? Are you really, truly there 100% helping them? Or you have just a little bit of attention on something else? So you're trying to make a transformation with your body, or you're trying to make a transformation with your spouse because you're fighting, or you're trying to make a transformation with your diet, and that's precedent over your finances and actually doing this deal. Or you're trying to do a transformation on I need money, and neediness leaks through the deal, and the seller feels it and they run, and the more they run, the faster they run, the more you chase them. It's so insidious, it's so unnoticed and so unrecognized that it's hard to even believe. And why would I be talking about this on a real estate podcast? Right? And I'm going to continue from there. So do you get the point on transformation and attention?
Yeah. I mean, when you first start talking about transformation, it seems like it's a big thing, but it's really change, isn't it? You're trying to change, and just activity is change. So what are you trying to change? Cook the food, eat the food, clean the house. It's some kind of a change because you're trying to go from this to that. And that's almost, well, of course you're doing. That's what we do all day long. But if you're stuck on one change and you're trying to do another change, they could interfere. That's kind of what you're getting at, it seems.
Yeah, well, you're unhappy with something.
Yeah.
And the old adage is nothing stays the same. You're either growing or you're shrinking. And if you're staying the same, let's put it this way. This is the year 2024.
Yeah.
Let's say you made $100,000 in the year 1990. Right? Would you be making a lot of money?
1990, I think that was pretty good.
Right? Now you make $100,000 in the year 2024. Is it good?
Not anywhere near. No. Yeah. Not near that. No.
That's lower middle class right now. Right? So yeah, that's my point is either you're growing or you're shrinking. When you have your attention on things that you're not, then you can't grow. Happiness, and I'm way off script here. I'm going to go back to the script. Happiness is the byproduct of interest. When you're interested in something, it creates. Interested in real estate, you have to be interested in the seller and the buyer. You have to be interested in people. You have to be interested in helping. You have to be interested in all those before you can get the byproduct of the money. If you're interested just in money, it won't work. All right. So having a precise and accurate starting line analysis is important. So you need to take inventory of things like, there's 3 things I wrote down. Your available resources, like what tools do you have? Do you have a tool like Creative RER Replay or not? Do you have a calculator or a formula on how to do deal structuring or not? Right? Do you have private lenders if you're going to do flips and stuff like that or not? Right? Do you have a family, a household, or an environment that you live in that is conducive for you doing this or not? Right? I mean, I started off, I have an ex-wife, and I have an ex-wife because of this exact reason, because of my religious beliefs and my real estate. And she is my ex-wife because of those 2 things.
Wow.
Because she didn't want to do those things. Right? So my environment was toxic. She's a great woman. I still get along with her now. She's the mother of my 2 children. We're going to Thanksgiving. She'll be at Thanksgiving dinner with me. I love talking to her. I have a connection with her. She's awesome. But those 2 things it was toxic for me. I couldn't. It always kept snapping my attention into me trying to prove to her that real estate and my religious beliefs would work. And I wasn't advancing. I was stuck there. So your available resources is very important, right?
Absolutely.
Number 2, you have to grip a hold of the proper predict on hitting your goals by measuring reality and markets to your resources. Right? I asked Pamela yesterday to give me these words, my wife, and I forgot what she said. It's
prediction?
Yeah, no, it's predict. Comparable. Oh my God, I should have wrote it down. You have to have the right prediction. You have to know. Go ahead.
It's a comparison.
Yeah.
Like comparing what you have to what's out there to see if it connects.
Well, you need to know what kind of a road you have ahead of you. Like, what is the resistance going to be? Right? Like how much effort do I need to actually pull this off? That's the real thing. How much energy? How much do I need to actually? And this is where a lot of rookies make a big mistake, because there's too many gurus out there to say, "Oh yeah, just flip a deal, a wholesale deal."
Yeah, just
right? And make $10,000. Right? It's like our buddy Jay. He says all the time he listens to some comedian. I don't remember who it was, but some comedian. Oh, I think it was. Oh my God, I can see his face. I can't remember his name. He did that green monster thing. Carey. Anyways,
Drew Carey?
No. Anyway, so he says, oh yeah, this comedian. He says, yeah, just he's talking about getting $1 million. I forgot, being a millionaire. First step, get $1 million. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what some people think. They think it's just that easy, right? So number 3.
Bill, I think I got the words. How's this? Estimation of effort?
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just you have to estimate what the effort's going to be realistically.
You have to have a proper estimation of effort.
Right.
Right. So number 3, and it's the big game stopper for most, is time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to arrange your life to work. Right? I mean, you arrange your life to date someone, to have sex. You arrange your life to make sure you go to the bathroom every day. You arrange your life to make sure you do your laundry and clean your house. You arrange your life to make sure you go to your job to get money. You arrange your life to make sure you go to Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner. I mean, you arrange your life all the time. So the question is are you arranging your life, or is your life arranging you? Right? And I'm not going to dwell on these points today because we have too much to cover, but these are a whole nother topic. These are very profound conversations. But I do want to comment on the time thing that I noticed. Right? Time is only allocated to do the necessary work if someone feels they're getting results or exchange. Right? Like you and I have run into this, like, and I'm not picking on you, so please don't, it's just an example, right? So, like for a while there, you're making phone calls, and you're not getting any results because the market's been pretty harsh. And we were in Connecticut, and it wasn't a good place to do. We should have changed markets, right? So what happens is subconsciously you do everything else first, and that becomes last because it's like, okay, now I have extra time, so I'll do that now. And then the extra time doesn't really become extra time where you should be spending an hour or two and ends up being 15 minutes or 30 minutes because that's all you have left because you're either A, tired, or it's the end of the day, or you want to go play and you got to do this before you can do that. Right? So, in other words, intensity of the goals drops if someone feels they're not making progress, right? Or getting paid today or this week.
Sure.
Right? So you're not going to be like over the ramparts. I'm going to do this no matter what. You're not like the old story. You're not pulling the ships up to the island that you need to conquer and burning them. You're leaving the ships ready in case you need to retreat. Right? So what I see too often with time is the lack of results stops reach. So reach is outflow. And I'm telling you, I'm not even being polite about it. I'm a tyrant with this. I'm a dictator with this. Happily. You cannot buy real estate until you talk to a seller. End of story. And it's not texting. It's not leaving messages. It's not using ChatGPT. It's not any of that. Even our tools, which are the best on the market, we are superior with creative real estate tools. And I don't say that because it's my company. I say that because we've got 2.5 years or almost 3 years worth of experience and hundreds of users. And we do a support call every Thursday night. And my clients tell me that. Okay, it's their words. If you're not doing business in creative real estate, you're doing something wrong. And creative REI reply, you're doing something wrong, right? So outflow and reach gets thwarted when you feel like your time is not being used correctly. You're measuring your time wrong, right? And you tend to, and too often you'll tend to just go weak on a seller's objections and start to believe that the seller's objections and stop trying to overcome them. Oh, the market's just like that. There's too many people that want all cash. All cash. Well, I can't pay all cash. I can't pay all cash for a $300,000 house. How do I make money? Well, that's a lie because I've showed you in our slot deal and our options deal recently how you can make a ton of money giving the seller up to 70% more than market value. And you can make 5-figure paychecks. So that's just a lie that you're telling yourself. You're not persistent enough because what happens is your time is not allocated correctly. You're not giving it enough. You have the wrong estimation of effort, as you said. And you're just doing it like, by the way, I'll just kind of get to it. Right? And you're not in it 100%. Your full heart and intention isn't there. And you're not going to use things like what we call hard sell. Hard sell is, this is really good for the customer, and I need to get them to understand that. not like a derogatory thing, like you're trying to sell somebody a used car that they don't want. You're talking about changing somebody's life, and they don't have that idea of how you can help them. You need to push that hard sometimes.
Well, they don't know what we know.
That's right.
And no matter how unprofessional or new we may be, as soon as you're in this business, you know more than most people. I talk to people, they have no idea of so many things. They're intelligent. It's not their world. So we have fabulous solutions if we just understand that we need to persist and point that out to them so they can make a better decision for themselves. Give them solutions they don't know. That's all.
Exactly, which is the reason why you need to have an analysis or a baseline of where you are starting. Like, if you don't have connections to money, then do lease options and options. Do a slot deal. You could go years just doing slot deals, which is getting a lease option from your seller and then finding a buyer and just selling it to your buyer. You don't need to stay in the deal, nothing. You're just brokering the deal. You're just matchmaking. And you don't need to have a lender. You don't need contractors. You don't need any of that. But if you got 50 grand in the bank, you want to invest it, then go after subject to deals and do second mortgages. Right? Or you got $500,000 in your IRA, or your dad has $500,000 in an IRA and you want to use it. Well, hell, just go buy houses and pay cash. Right? So your resources matter where you start on what kind of a deal you should do and how you're going to win. How you're going to actually feel good about yourself. So here's the most important thing. We talked about this a long time ago. This was Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan in one of their books. I forgot which one it was. Who, Not How, or something like that, right? Most of us are measuring our success by looking at how far away the goal is. We measure our success like how far away is our goal. Instead of stopping and looking over our shoulder and seeing how far we have come from our starting line or our baseline. Like, how do I look forward? I look forward by saying, well, I want to make 10 grand a month so I can stop working. And you haven't made any money in 6 months and you're thinking, oh, this isn't working. Instead of looking back and saying, oh my God, I almost came close with this deal. I partnered with this person. I have a private lender now, and all of a sudden you realize, like you said, you got into it. And this is what happens when you do real estate and not spend all the time learning it, because you make connections, you meet people. The way to start doing real estate is to outflow, is to talk to and communicate with as many people that have a house for sale as possible. End of story, right? You can't go into the grocery store and buy groceries unless there's groceries on the shelf, right? Let me give you a classic example of how all this works, okay? This is, I think, pretty cool because I went over this on a coaching call I did the other day, which is the reason why I wrote this podcast. I got the idea to do it from there, right? So you believe me or someone like me and start actually making calls. Right. Say you go on to Zillow and you call for sale by owner. There's a lot of them there. Or you see something advertised on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, so you decide to call. You see a sign on your way home for a house for sale by owner, and you decide to call. Whatever it is, you've mustered up enough confidence to make a call. And this is where time and prediction are not calculated correctly and is like a minefield in the wild wilderness. It will kill you. It will blow you up in bits and pieces, and I will come along someday and find you completely in bits and pieces laying all over the ground, and you're just dead when it comes to creative real estate. Because this is what happens. You ready?
Yeah.
Watch this. Here's the process everyone goes through when first starting. There's 6 points. Number 1, you need leads to call and actually find some and make calls. So the first barrier you think you have is, I need leads. I need someone to call. Where am I going to go? That's the first barrier. And if this is not true, Peter, because I've been doing this for 30 years and maybe I got it wrong, but this is what I see from my coaching clients. So if this is not true, you need to inject and correct me on behalf of the head rookie.
Exactly. No, it makes sense. I mean, people, where do I start? Like, I don't have anybody to talk to. Who am I supposed to talk to? Where's the customer? You know? So yeah, you have to have a lead.
Number two, you realize there needs to be, so now you actually find someone to call them and you start talking to them, and you realize there needs to be some sort of a flow to the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't have it, so you decide that you better hunt for a script, because you need to like you need to start from, hi, my name is Bill, to, I'll buy your house. Like, what is that flow? How's that pattern go?
Right. Because if you don't have that, guess who runs the flow?
Right.
The guy on the other side. Well, my house has a new roof and there's and it's a good thing. You're sitting there like,
Right.
Yeah.
And not getting anywhere. After 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those phone calls, you'll be like, this isn't working.
Yeah. What am I supposed to say?
So number 3, you pick a script, and here, now listen to this. Oh my God, you got to listen to this, because I'm telling you, I cannot emphasize this enough. This one point.
Mm-hmm.
You pick a script that you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Not even considering what its past results have been.
Mm-hmm.
This is like picking a realtor. Well, I like Jane. She lives next door to my mom, and she's always so nice. I've known her all my life. And she sells 2 houses a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of looking for the realtor that sells 30 houses a year that gets it done.
And maybe grumpy even.
Exactly.
Seriously.
So you pick a script that you feel good with. You're like, oh, I'm comfortable with this, because you have in your head, oh, I'm not a salesperson. Oh, I don't want to be pushy. Oh, I don't want to be persuasive like that used car salesman that dealt with me last year and sold me my junker. Right? So you don't want to be that person, which, by the way, you don't have to be that person if you know what you're doing. But you think that. So you pick that script, right? Number 4, you use that script without any practice or much rehearsal, and start changing the script to overcome your lack of rehearsal or execution. So you're using a script that's not proven. It's not working. You know it's not working. So you decide that you should change the script. This is like my 6-year-old grandson who's in 1st grade telling his dad how to run his finances. He knows nothing about finances, but he tells his dad, Dad, you spend too much money. Dad, stop complaining about money. All you need to do. I remember one time Brendan, who's my youngest son, right? Pam's son. I remember we were in the car one time, and he's like, you guys talk about money a lot. I don't understand. Why don't you just make more money? Right? And now he's 27 or 28 years old, and he's scrounging around looking for work, trying to make money.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't know when he was 11, 12 years old that there was some. So you get the script. You think the script is good. You think it's not working because, well, the questions aren't that good. The script is not that good. And you feel like you have the ability to change that script. But you don't know what you're doing either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you wonder, and all this, by the way, this all takes time. It all takes time.
Oh, it takes time. That's why you don't notice it happening.
Right.
You don't even know it's happening.
So you change the script to overcome your lack of execution or your lack of a rehearsal. Instead of saying, what am I doing wrong? Because the script works for everybody else. You're saying, oh, I'll just change it. Right? You don't know what you don't know. Number 5, this brings about seller objections. So you have a bad script and you're saying crap that you shouldn't be saying, and the seller's like, oh, and they start asking about objections, right? And it knocks you off script, and you were not prepared for that. So now you get on the phone, you feel like you got confidence. I'm going to use this script. I wrote this script and it's going to work. And then you start going through the script, and the seller brings up an objection. Like, how do I know you're going to pay for this every month? And you're not prepared for it. And it throws you off the script. The first thing that happens is first of all, the script is the script. My script that we use, you guys built. I didn't build it. You guys built it. My clan built it. Peter, you know, for a very long time, we change scripts regularly. We don't do that anymore, do we?
No, it's getting pretty stable. I like that part.
The script works. If you follow the script, you will buy houses. End of story. Okay? Which, by the way, if you're listening to me right now and you're curious about that, I put a link in the description that we can do a free 45-minute consultation with me. And if you do that consultation with me, I will actually give you the script, the current script that we use. I'll give it to you for free. Okay?
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So my point is, you start changing the script, you start using it, and the first thing that happens is you start getting a lot of objections because your script didn't cover the objections. Because realize this, 10 years ago, I lost track of sitting in 4,300 houses. 10 years ago. And then I started coaching. So now it's not only me talking to sellers, because I'm still on the phones. It's my clients talking to sellers. So the point is you don't change the questions, because when you ask the question, you get the right answer. And when you change the questions, you bring up objections that shouldn't be objections, or the most important part in today, they think you're a scam. Number 6, now you have uncertainty on the script and not persuasive enough to handle these rebuttals and have the correct handlings for the objections, and you start to feel this isn't going to work. Or you start chasing shiny objects like new trainings and new courses and new software, and go into information overwhelm, but are starving for wisdom. And some people I talk to have been doing this for decades. There are a lot of people that I talk to that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s that have been trying to do this for decades because of what I'm telling you today.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody sticking it out that long and not having some success. It's just...
Well, it's because what I told you in the beginning with time, it's because they do it when they don't have something else to do. It's their hobby.
Yeah.
Right? So they do everything else first, and when they have extra time on Saturday afternoons, when they don't have a wife or they don't have kids they got to go see or whatever, this is their entertainment or their hobby. They study real estate. Because if they took it serious, they would do it first and everything else would go there. I remember one time I learned a very valuable lesson. So, anyways, it doesn't matter. I am a professional real estate person that does transactions. Instead of saying I am you're doing it backwards. Instead of saying I am a plumber, right? And I don't do transactions. I'm not saying that right, so we'll just skip over that. There's a point to this. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a way to look at it that your identity is the thing you really want to do. You're thinking of yourself as a real estate person, not as a gardener. I told my students, I have music students, right? I tell them I forgot to practice. And look, first thing you wake up in the morning, you say to yourself, "God damn it, I'm a guitar player." Right. And go play your damn guitar. Right. You know, it's just having that identity, the viewpoints. So you start in the right place. I am a boom, and then you go.
Exactly. All right. So because you have this hazy idea of what wisdom looks like based on your incorrect analysis of your past call experience, you now think that you know. But you don't. Right? I mean, I'm being completely crude right now, but this is like the scientist doing tests on a rat and then telling me that that's what humans do.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. Well, I think one thing about your scripts is that when you just look at them, you don't realize what's behind the questions and why they're there. There's a lot behind it. And you can't like explain every question with a paragraph. Here's all I got here. You'd be there forever. So there's some good points behind why things are the way they are to keep things going the right way. You won't know. You just have to use it.
It's very simple. I have surveyed enough questions that the question I'm giving to you gets the most results, the most answers.
With the least trouble.
With the least trouble.
Yeah.
All right. So now to clarify, if you have a good mentor, right, they can guide your journey with proven and known facts. They're going to tell you where the potholes are. They're going to tell you what roads to stay off of. They're going to tell you how to do it. So let's go through that in 6 steps to give you a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So number 1, here you go, Mr. Rookie. Here's a tested and proven script. I want you to handwrite it 10 times, as well as record it into your phone. And I want you to listen to yourself saying the script 10 or 15 times. I prefer 20 or 30, but I want you to listen to yourself doing it 10 or 15 times. And sort of brainwash yourself. You're going to burn it into your memory. Like if you could see the inside of your forehead, it's going to be like a ticker, like one of those stock market tickers, and it's going to be going by, and you're going to just read it like it's a teleprompter, right? Because you burned it into your head. And the way you do that is you handwrite the script 5, 10, 15 times. And here's what happens when you handwrite it. Because when you use scripts, when I use scripts, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, you don't go 1, 2, 3 in the script. After a while, you bounce around in the script. So there's sections of the script you're going to use when the seller asks the questions or prompts you to do that. That's a good script user, right? But you got to burn it into your head first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And almost brainwash yourself so it falls out of your mouth and you're like, holy crap, I didn't even know I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
First time happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 1. Number 2, now call sellers and practice the flow of the conversation and what they say when. So you're going to use the script, but the idea is not to close anyone. The idea is just to pay attention to the flow. What do they talk about? What's important to them? What should I bring up in the beginning of the phone call, and what do I bring up at the end of the phone call? What are they really interested in? Like, for example, they want all cash. 97% will say, I want all cash. So you need to bring that up first, right? Which we do in our script. Number 3, write down any objections and or rebuttals that you get stumped on and you couldn't answer, right? You need to document them, like, oh, he said he wanted all cash, and I went like that in my mind. I didn't know how to answer him. Yeah. I went off script and tried to answer it off script. I made up my own answer, my own rebuttal handling, because I didn't know what to do. And by the way, you're an amateur. So your rebuttal probably isn't the correct one because you haven't talked to enough people and you don't know what works. You haven't tested it. You haven't surveyed it. You haven't proven it yet. And you want to know why you're not getting deals and why it's taking you all this time. Right? Is this making sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Number 4, once you get those rebuttal handlings written down, or those rebuttals that they're telling you, right? Like, I don't want to do a terms deal or whatever it may be. You send them to your mentor and you get objection handlings, the correct objection handlings for that objection so that you can have a persuasive enough conversation. Now, pay attention to this. This is huge. When I say persuasive, I'm not talking about closing them to do the deal. I'm talking about handling that objection so that you can get back to the question on the script and continue to do the script so you can continue doing your discovery stage and continue to find out what's going on in the seller's life. Right? If you don't have, so in other words, you're doing the script. Excuse me. The seller knocks you off script with a rebuttal. Here's what happens when an amateur. They go off into a dissertation, they give them a seminar, or they give them some sort of, they learn this in the seminar, so they're going to repeat it, and they're talking about subject to, blah, 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 blah. They're not even on the right deal. And then they don't go back to the original question and ask it again. Because the script is what's going to get you a deal board. The script, the flow, the questions, digging in, breaking their social veneer and letting them just stop telling you, oh, everything's okay, when they're 9 months in foreclosure.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you send your rebuttals in with your coach or your mentor, you're going to get the right answers and you're going to shorten your runway. Right. Number 5, you're going to keep making calls and adjust as you go. But your mentor has given you proper predict on how long this will take by having you do 25 to 50 calls based on your skill set. So your first 50 calls are tests.
Mm.
I don't expect anybody to start buying a house usually until 100 phone calls.
And if you do, you're lucky.
How many new people are predicting themselves with that? So let me ask you this, Peter, before I go on. Well, let me give you number 6. Number 6, your mentor has you record your conversation. Actually, I'll do that. So what I'm telling you is that if you're making 2 phone calls a week and you need to make 100 phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
How long is that going to take you?
That's a long runway to keep going.
That's a year or 2, right?
Yeah, it's a year. Yeah.
Before you even start getting warmed up where you feel like you can understand.
You know what that's like? That's like doing 1 push-up a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Going for a walk, you go out at the end of the block, you turn around. You know, you have some things.
Here's the truth. Here is the truth. Here is the truth. Mm-hmm. You're not in the real estate business, you're in the people business. So you need to do these things because the way it works is you qualify your seller for their motivation first. They sign documents, you do due diligence and make sure that you qualify the property second. And too many do it backwards. They don't understand, and their predict is out. Yep. So 2 phone calls a week means a year of working and not getting paid because your skill set, your predict was off. Mm-hmm. Okay, so number 6, which is the last one, your mentor has you record your conversations so you can listen to yourself talking to the seller and make proper adjustments by self-coaching. Now, I'm not going to talk about this because I have a couple more pages of notes here. And we only have 10 or 15 minutes left. But I actually made a tool. I showed you guys this in the coaching group a week or 2 ago, right? Mm-hmm. So you actually take your recordings of your calls and you put them in my tool. And literally 2 or 3 minutes later, it transcribes the tool. It transcribes the phone call. And it completely is my analysis of your call. What did you think of it, Peter? Quickly.
It was brutally honest. It's brutal, but you know, the truth is the truth. It's like anything. You're an athlete. You know, you don't do a good job. The coach's got to say no, more to the left or faster or high. He's got to tell you something.
So I remember I'm friends with Tabucky Jones, who played for the Patriots football, NFL. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was in the NFL for 10 years. I think he was a tight end or something. I'm not a football guy, so I don't know. He won a
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Thank you.
Got the ring and everything, huh?
Right. He has it all. Right. And then he went back to Connecticut and he was coaching the New Britain football team. And here is what I learned from him. Here is what I learned. Now, this guy, he does not have the word lose in his system. Yeah. He does not like to lose, right?
Yeah.
If anything. Here's what I learned from him. He is who he is because of the tapes. He would watch the opponent team, whoever they were playing, he would watch tapes of them playing football.
Yeah.
And that's how he learned to be the athlete that he is.
Yeah.
Hours and hours and days and weeks. And I actually asked him that because he would talk about it all the time. And he's like, yeah, I got the truth. He's watching the tapes of the opponent and know what they're going to do. Mm. All right, so back to the podcast. With your skills, resources, and proper predict for results mapped out, like I just stated, if you have a mentor, you will soon not overestimate or underestimate your potential results. The predict will be much cleaner. And you can truly start to look at or look over your shoulder and see how far you've traveled from your starting line or baseline and feel good about your success. Because yeah, you're saying I've been doing this for a year and I haven't made any money. But if you look backwards, you'll realize, well, at least now I can have a conversation. At least I got an agreement, or I got somebody to sign an option agreement, or I tried to sell a house, but and I always told you, and I can't talk about this now because we're too late, but I always told you if there were 10 steps in a deal,
Yeah.
1 through 10, the first
Yeah.
time you'll get to step 2 and something will happen, the deal will blow up. Next time you get to step 3 or 4, right? And each time you go through the process, you get further in the steps, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the predict that most people do not use.
Right. You got to give yourself credit for getting a certain direction. You have to, or else you'll just crumble yourself.
So you measure your success off your goal, and you'll soon see that the experience you get, the more you realize goals are off, like the goal is off like in the horizon, and it constantly changes because as you keep learning, you change your goal. Right? So if you look off into the horizon, it keeps moving. I mean, think of it like you're at the beach, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. If you got on a boat, the horizon never ends. It's always a horizon.
It's like tomorrow never comes.
Right. Exactly. So this is what it's like. So that's why you have to stop and you have to look back and say, "Oh, I'm this far from the beach."
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you won't stay sane. Right.
Now
comes the most alarming factor. Until you hurdle the conversations aspect of talking to sellers, you will not gain the ability to identify actual leverage points a seller is handing you, aka good deal structuring ability. So the reason why you're having trouble with deal structuring is because the underlying rudiment is not in. The conversation you're having with the seller is not in. In other words, you're always trying to do deal structuring with a seller before overcoming the discovery of why they are selling, or the script that I just explained. It is much like learning to swim without ever getting in the water. So if you're trying to learn deal structuring and not learn how to have conversations because, ooh, I'm not a salesperson, ooh, I don't like confrontation, ooh, it's not going to work. You picked the wrong career. Right? And don't think that you're going to use software. Don't think you're going to hire people. Eventually it will happen, but you yourself have to do it, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to get into another phase. Right? Now, I made a meal out of this today, but wanted you to understand that this is my simple point today. Energy. It can be positive and help you grow, or it could be negative and help you die or shrink. You'll notice you will notice negative energy by who is trying to stop you or convince you that this is not good. You'll notice they're opposite of what you're thinking. Right? They might be saying they're going to try to help you, but their actions are not doing that. Right? And the opposite is when somebody's trying to help you and they actually give you things to help them. Right? Like, oh, take a look at this video. It might help you. Right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, right? I don't know what you'll do with it, but I watched a video about something that will help your wife. So if you watch the video, then you'll know that I was actually trying to help.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just giving you another perspective to help solve your problem.
Yep.
Okay? Which is why I've been shouting from the rooftops that you get paid from your buyers, not your sellers. Too many rookies are trying to handle sellers. And this is wrong. It's the wrong end of your journey. Right? You're at the edge of the wilderness, this wild forest, trying to figure out a path to get through it. And you're never going to do it because you don't even know where you're supposed to be. So you need to stop the blindness that you have, the deal blindness you have by thinking you need to learn so much about how to get sellers to do deals with you. That's an ethics blind spot. That is not the right way to go about this training. That is not the right way to get deals. That is not how you're going to get paid, right? Buyers are going to pay you, not sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So let me prove my point. Realtor agents, they don't study creative real estate deals like we do. They don't go to seminars like we do. They don't read books like we do. They don't do any of the stuff that we do. Matter of fact, some real estate agents I know are some of the laziest people on planet Earth that I've met. No disrespect to them, because here's why. Why should they work? Because they're doing deals. They're getting paid.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do all the stuff that we do. So why is that? How is that? And it's because they get houses on consignment so they can attract buyers like bees to pollen. It's a natural progression, right? Just listen to podcast number 430 to number 430. I'm sorry, 430 to 433, and you'll start to see this philosophy at work. Right? Buyers pay you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So a realtor gets a listing agreement, puts it on the MLS, buyer finds it and makes offer, buyer buys house, realtor gets paid, seller gets paid, all the closing agents get paid. Who brought the money to the table? So the only way that's right. The only way that you're going to make money in real estate is not study the seller, but study your buyer. Because once the buyer says, I'm willing to do this, I'm not willing to do that, you can now go back to your seller and say, I'm willing to do this and I'm not willing to do that, because you surveyed who's going to give you money. Follow the money. And that will teach you how to make the offers. Let the seller give you a house on an option agreement or on a slot deal on consignment, just like a realtor would, and let the buyer do the due diligence for you. You don't need to go look at a house. Send the buyers there. They'll tell you that has a cracked basement. They'll tell you that the windows are 900 years old. They'll tell you there's a nuclear plant 2 blocks over. They'll tell you all that.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I tell you to test before you invest. When you use option agreements, which is very similar, it's exactly the way realtors do. Realtors use a listing agreement because of fiduciary problems. They don't have ownership in anything. So their obligation to handle the seller's money has to be in legal terms. When you use an option agreement, you're getting equity share with it, and you're part owner, and that makes you not have fiduciary problems. You don't need to have a license.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You know, it's funny. The realtor doesn't argue with the seller. He says, how much do you want? I want 400,000. Okay. And he puts it in the contract, puts it on the market. If it doesn't work out, he drops the price. So when we talk to a seller, we shouldn't worry too much about the price and all that. That's like, from my standpoint, on the other end of the spectrum, we shouldn't worry about that. Maybe he's asking a little bit too much, whatever. It goes up, fine, let's try it. You go to the market and you can always go back and say, hey, nobody wants to pay that much. It's not me, it's them. And we can make adjustments just like the realtor does. Why kill the deal ourselves because we think it might not work? Go for it.
Right.
It's an option. You're not obliged. You're not like, you got a check in your checkbook. You don't have a check in your hand ready to write. No. So it's a similar thing. You have the right to
sell, but no obligation.
And it's a similar thing to me how the realtor just goes, well, we'll just give it a shot and then make adjustments as you go. Don't say no to people. Give it a shot.
The streamline. I'm sorry. The starting line. I don't know why I said that. The starting line.
Yeah.
Take a moment and reflect on what we have discovered today. You should have uncovered resources you never knew you had. Gain clarity on your true position, or identified exciting opportunities for quick wins. Right? Mm-hmm. We did for a very long time. We had a couple coaching clients that did this all the time. We go on to Facebook Marketplace, not even look at the houses, just send messages to people. I used to tell them, do it while you're sitting on the toilet. Was a crude way of me talking, right? Mm-hmm. Type in the first one you see under the rent section, because Facebook doesn't own a rent section, and type the sentence in, would you be willing to rent for a year or two and then sell to me? Copy and paste it 25 times every morning, and within a week or two, you'll have somebody on the phone talking to them about a rent to own. No money, no nothing, and you'll know how to do it. And you'll get quick wins. You'll get fast wins. You'll cut through the beginner stage by doing that, right? And this will give you energy that will fill up your goals. It'll make you feel like you're doing something, and it'll keep you going for more results and getting more energy and more wins, more energy. This is your pay. This is your pay in the beginning, is the energy to keep going and the drive to keep going because you know you're getting closer, right? Done this way is a perpetual machine that just keeps running a long time. Keep doing deals and making deals and doing deals, right? So test before you invest teaches you how to use real estate options, get houses under consignment, get them in front of the buyers so the buyers can come offer you your paycheck. And that's the way you're going to get through your journey. In the beginning, just do the deals that don't need much education. Now, if you've been in real estate and you're a realtor for 30 years, then you don't need to listen to this podcast. You already know how to get started. You just need to know how to make better offers on subject to deals and owner-seller deals, right? But when you're new and you're just starting, what you need to do is you need to hone down to your outflow. Get outflow. Like I just told you, outflow 25 people a day on Facebook Marketplace that are renters. They're renting a property. They're a landlord and want to rent the property. And all of a sudden they get a message from their Facebook Messenger saying, would you be willing to rent for a year or two and then sell to me? And then get on the phone and just talk to them. And just tell them you're going to sublease it. You're going to go find a buyer, an owner buyer, and you're going to rent to them. You're going to sell them the property, right? Mm-hmm. And then let them live there until they can qualify for a mortgage. Right?
Yep.
So hopefully this made sense, Peter. Hopefully I didn't go too profound today. Hopefully I didn't get too wild and crazy. I don't think I did. Yelling and screaming.
No, it was okay. It was reasonable. You're fine.
Good.
You're fine. Okay,
good. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a little mini series out of this. So today we talked about how to start doing creative real estate deals on podcast number 434, which is where we are right now. On podcast number 435, I've named it Architecting a Profitable Creative Real Estate Machine in Today's Economy. Architecting a profitable creative real estate machine in today's economy. Okay, so
sounds interesting.
Enlighten you on some things that you could do to cut to the chase, and hopefully get you past the beginner stage. Okay. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or liking us. Watching us or listening to us. Make sure you leave us a comment. And realize that I'm hoping by the time we get to podcast number 450, we will no longer be doing the free podcast here. We're going to be doing it on a private podcast platform. So we're not going to be on these channels anymore. We're going to probably go into a private environment. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to do more stuff with you guys. Realize if this is a free podcast, what happens when we go into my own platform and I'm not in the public light, and we can start saying more stuff, digging deeper, helping you more, right? So that's the plan. All right. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for listening. And hopefully I rattled some cobwebs upstairs and you're going to start doing better. So please send us a support ticket at Flipping Houses for Rookies or creativereireply.com and the support ticket, and let us know that we're making a difference. And if there's a topic you want to hear about, send it in, and we'll write a podcast about it and help you out. Okay? So with that said, over and out. Thanks again for all your attention, and make sure you flourish and prosper. Later.